it takes a second for people to show
Oh.
up, but you should see the chat, I think, over here. It's been some
right.
time. Hi, guys.
Yeah, Alexis, hey, Tara here.
We're troubleshooting.
Yes, we're setting up a different stream. I'm here to talk with you about the full moon in Libra. Super excited about it, but just know, Alexis is double checking, just so you know, I'm doing this differently today, so not sure how the chat's gonna look, and hopefully you can see me. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Tara All, and I am resident astrologer here at Sage Goddess. And I teach our living astrology class. Athena is there with me, but I get to lead that part of our program, which is part of our Living Magic program. But today I'm here to talk about the full moon. So a happy almost full moon. It's not there quite yet. Tonight, Pacific time. And again, today, April 5th, it's Wednesday, 9:34 p.m. Pacific time, which means Eastern time, it's going to be 12:34 a.m. on Thursday, April 6th. So it's either going to be, I can see the chat. It's so tiny in this version. Oh my goodness, you guys are going to, my poor old eyes are going to have to really try to get in here and figure this out. So anyway, thank you for bearing with me. It's funny, as you get older, like I'll be 49 this year, it's funny, like vision really does start to change, which is funny as we're talking about a full moon, because full moon's all about awareness and seeing and illumination. So yes, I see some of you feeling strangely balanced, but also kind of blah. Yeah, it's interesting in this sort of space before the full moon. So again, this full moon in Libra that's coming up tonight, either late tonight or super early morning, depending on your time zone tomorrow. Technically, we're in the waxing gibbous phase right now. So it's not full yet, even though, like tonight, for example, Athena's going to do ritual around full moon, which certainly I invite you to come. Those are always amazing. But the exact full moon is going to be a little later. So in the period leading up to it, even though it looks pretty full up there in the sky, again, it's called waxing gibbous. And so this time right before the full moon actually has a Virgo type of energy. Gibbous, waxing gibbous phase pulls in Virgo energy. So it's like those final adjustments, those little tweaks. If you were getting ready to put on a play or some kind of big show, this would be like the final rehearsal where you do all the little bits and bobs to get things just ready to go. So sometimes right before the full moon, we do have some interesting feelings that come up, and almost too, I think, the anticipation of what's coming, almost full but not quite full, can't fully see it. So yes, Karen, thank you for sharing the link to the event tonight. It will be 5 p.m. Pacific time. I will be there, and Athena will be leading us through amazing ritual as usual. It's one of the, in my opinion, one of the best things we do here at Sage Goddess. So super excited for that. I have a lot of notes. I am such a dork about this. You'll see, like, it's all here. You can probably see all my handwritten stuff, because yesterday, for whatever reason, I was like, I'm so excited to talk about this full moon. This full moon is coming, we're going to be heading into eclipse season here. So on April 19th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse in Aries, right? So this full moon is not an eclipse. So in some ways, I feel like it's the kind of the last normal lunation effect that we're going to have before we move into eclipse season. And I know normal's a weird word to use, but I just mean that once we move into eclipse seasons, we work with eclipses a little bit differently. There's a little more of sort of stepping back to receive the information, letting the lights flash off and on, letting that awareness kind of settle in. But this full moon is not an eclipse, and it is traditionally called the pink moon, right? And we call it the pink moon in the Farmer's Almanac because there's a wildflower called moss pink that blooms in early spring. Right? So that's how it gets its name. It's not really going to be pink in the sky, but that's why we call it pink. Hey, oh my gosh, we've got someone from Australia here. Awesome. Southern Hemisphere. Yay. Athena Mack, who's on my team, my colleague Athena Mack, she has been, I understand that the Northern Lights, at least in New Zealand, have been visible. So some of you know, I was just up in Norway, really up north, seeing the Northern Lights, but the Southern Lights have been active too. So yeah, it's super exciting, this solar activity and all of this, I think, awakening that's going on for all of us. But back to this full moon. So this full moon in Libra, and someone mentioned there about feeling, I think I mentioned something about a little bit of balance or feeling kind of imbalanced. Here's the thing about Libra. You oftentimes see the glyph or the symbol of the scales that are in balance, right? And one of my first teachers, Laura Nalbandian, she would always say that's not an accurate image of Libra, because Libra in Libra, right? And it is that opposition that creates the full moon, because when the sun and the moon are in opposition, they're as far apart from each other as they ever get, which means the moon reflects the full light of the sun. And so that brings in this element of illumination, awareness, seeing things. Karen, should I stop? Is there something weird going on? Because I do see that there's like some freezing and some sound issues, and I'm on Alexis's phone. So I'm gonna hang out for a sec, and I'm gonna wait, Karen, for you to put a message here about what we should do. Oh, good. Okay. So I don't know where it froze. Should I step back? I can step back. So this full moon in Libra, I was talking about how Libra is about relationships, right? It's a sign of balance and a sign of connection and interconnectivity. And so through Libra, we get awareness of ourselves through other, right? It is literally the mirror. And full moons, I was talking about how a full moon is technically when the sun and moon are in opposition in the sky. So you see that they literally are polar opposites to each other when we have a full moon. And then because they're as far apart from each other as they're ever going to get, there's actually, it allows the moon to reflect the full light of the sun, which is why the moon appears to be full, right? Some of you guys have heard me say this before, but the moon doesn't have light on its own. It's always reflecting the sun. So in some ways, moonlight is always sunlight, which is a fun thing to play around in your own chart around your sun and your moon, to think about how the moon is really reflecting the light of the sun. It's not creating light on its own. So, but back to this sort of shared energy between full moon, which is an opposition. And so you guys, this is a little bit more advanced, but any opposition you have, oh, scales of Libra is where it froze. Okay, I can pop back in that for a second too. But any opposition you have in your chart, or any opposition going on by transit, oppositions, anytime something's opposite something else, it has natural inherent Libra energy in it. It's always about finding balance, integrating complementary energies, not complement like pay you a compliment, although that's kind of Libra too, but complementary, meaning you complement each other, meaning going well together, or bringing, as my first teacher, Laura Nalbandian, would say, that's not an accurate representation of Libra. It's really scales looking like this, because it's coming into balance. Libra is an archetype of coming into balance. So if you have a lot of Libra, or you're working with Libra energy and you feel like you struggle with balance, it's perfect. You're right in the zone. You're right where you need to be, literally, right? It's coming into balance, and we only come into balance through struggling or dealing with opposing energies, extreme energies, things that feel out of balance, so we can bring them into balance. So with this full moon, what needs to come into balance? What do you need more clarity around, especially in relationships, right? Libra is a sign of fairness and reciprocity. It wants equality. You know, if you want to check in and sort of feel into whether or not your relationships are in the Libra zone, you want to look to see whether there is equality. And one way that we can, and what I mean by equality, it's not like exactly 50-50 all the time. But if you look, for example, at a friendship, and you look back over it over the past year, you look to see, hey, about equally, if you averaged it out over the year, How often was I helping versus my friend helping me? How often was I listening versus my friend listening? How often did I just really have a meltdown and completely need someone else to help support, love or comfort or soothe me? And at least in some equal measure was, is it on the flip side, right? And so sometimes you will see that for maybe 2 months, I needed a lot more. But then my friend 8 months later needs it. So that's why I say it's important to average over time. But if you want to know if you're in the Libra zone or the 7th house zone, which is Libra's house, that's one good way to check in and figure it out. And so, with this Libra full moon, there is a desire for that level of equality, right? It isn't about somebody trying to lead the other person. It isn't about someone trying to be the teacher, someone being more the role of the student. It's not someone trying to parent someone else, which lots of us, do that in our relationships, even with adults. It's not about someone's the healer, someone else needs the medicine, right? It is really much more about that equal balance between the two, right? Two equals coming together, not someone being a superior in any way. You guys, I'm sorry if the connection's weird. I don't know what else to do, but I'm gonna keep going and apologize if things lag, and I'm gonna trust that Karen is going to give me a little virtual kick if I need to do something different. Okay, so this particular, let's talk let's geek out on the astrology a little bit more. This particular full moon. So again, I already mentioned that the moon in Libra is opposing the sun in Aries, right? Full moons are always oppositions. So we're trying to find a balance between Aries and Libra energy. And Aries is about the me, right? And Libra is the we. So there's finding this integration or balance between what I need and my desires and my personal drive, me in my own right, versus what I want or need in my relationship. So a balance between the me and the we. You can look at this as needing to compromise. But what's interesting is when I was writing copy for a little meme that may already be out today or will be coming out today, it's asking us to look at when we need to compromise, but equally, when do you not need to compromise, right? How is that back and forth? Yes, Laura, I see this, this having to handle needy friends. It's, and this is not about making anything right or wrong about neediness, right? We all have needs, but this Libra, especially, this full moon in Libra is a checkpoint for, is that balance, is it swung too far? Another way you guys can think about balance is think about a seesaw, right? When we were kids and we go on or the teeter-totter, you might call it a teeter-totter or a seesaw. Imagine that finding balance, doesn't come from all the weight being on one side. It's both individuals hold their weight, and that's what brings the balance. That's what we're talking about in the equality of relationships, right? It doesn't mean that sometimes someone doesn't need more than the other, but it's that kind of average over time. So, but back to the specific astrology and some of the other planets that are involved here. So we have Moon in Libra opposing the Sun in Aries. And we have Jupiter and Chiron are conjuncting or connected with the sun right now. So literally right now, we have a Sun-Chiron conjunction in Aries opposing the moon. It's a big deal, big time for healing, right? Sun conjunct Chiron brings out feelings like that we're not good enough, just who we are, or just how we show up, or even our vitality, our strength, our energy, something just about ourselves. There can be a sense of woundedness, right? Or a sense of purpose. It's also medicine. Keep in mind, Chiron, that wounding that we talk about is just a story. It's a story, but we live into our stories, and our stories, they turn into our lives. So part of the awareness here is, where do we need to really feel into those areas of ourselves that maybe don't feel good enough, maybe you don't feel strong enough, maybe you don't feel like you can take the lead, maybe you don't feel like you're in charge. Maybe, you are like me, I have Chiron in Aries, and maybe sometimes you feel like your physical body can't keep up. Maybe you feel like it can't fight things off, or it won't make it through. Whatever it is for you around these self-identity or strength and courage issues, how can you flip the script or look at the story in a different way so you have more room to be in that space with yourself? Chiron work is never about making the wound or the hurt or the tenderness go away. It's about being okay to be in that tenderness, that vulnerability, and loving yourself in that space. And when you do that, work for yourself, work quotes around work, that changes your relationships, right? So this ability to heal not just ourselves and our own story about our self-image and who we are and how we show up, but the ability with these planets, Jupiter, Sun, and Chiron opposing the moon that's in Libra, to bring that same energy to our relationships. How can we heal that story? Yeah. So Carly, I was literally telling a new story and it felt great. Other people won't like it. Here's the thing. Yes, you are spot on about that. The risk in flipping your script or the risk in changing your story is that other people may be upset. If you really care about those people or that person, you can share where you're at with it. Look, here's what I'm needing to do for me. Here's what it means. I'm super excited to have this story with you. I just know that the next chapter needs to move differently. And then that person's included, right? That's doing more of the Libra side. The Aries side is like, I'm the hell out of here, man. My story's changing. You either get on the bus or get off, but I'm driving, right? That's Aries. The Libra side is, wait a second. I want there to be room to discuss this. I want there to be room to co-create this new story together. So for you, and I'm saying, and to myself, to all of us, the balance between those, you got to figure out where you need to be. Some of us need to lean more towards the Libra side. Some of us need to lean more towards the Aries side. It's about the combination, the balance between the two of them that really makes our relationships most rewarding, most fulfilling. And again, some of you mentioned kind of interesting vibes today. I really do. I'd be curious, and I wish you could just all ping me and let me know how you feel later on, like tomorrow morning or after 9:34 p.m. PT tonight, Pacific time, because I think there's going to be a shift of feeling once the moon is exactly full. Because again, this waxing gibbous phase sometimes feels critical. That Virgo energy around the waxing gibbous phase can feel critical and finding the flaws. And sometimes, we also can kind of feel like, oh, I'm just not ready to go, or we get paralysis from analysis, right? All these things can happen during this energy. So even though the moon is currently in the sign Libra already, that phase is a really different feel. Think about how it feels to be almost ready for something, kind of waiting, worrying about what's going to happen versus the release point. So the release point is coming on. Yeah. The other thing with this moon is it's forming what we call a quincunx with the planet Uranus or Uranus, whichever word you like. We now use, I think, all three in astrology, which is perfect for the most authentic, liberating, unconventional planet, right? We can't even figure out how we want to say it. But that brings an element of a little bit of surprise, right? And quincunx aspects. And quincunx, if you want a simple way to think about it, any sign that is 5 signs away, so that it's always 5 signs apart, is a quincunx in general. An adjustment's needed. It means we need to do something different. The two energies have a hard time working together or seeing each other. And so with Uranus and Taurus, there's a need to break free and to liberate, right? And in particularly to look at what we value, what has value, meaning, and purpose. That's bringing in the Taurus, the sign that Uranus is in, and to really look at what brings stability, sustainability, what keeps us grounded. So you've got these different energies going on, but at the very simple way I can say this, Uranus sometimes brings unexpected things. So we might find with this full moon, whoa, something comes out of left field. I have no idea where that came from. Or we might feel like inner energy, like almost feeling like anxiety, because Uranus kind of, it shakes, what it tries to do is break things apart that are too stuck, so it frees them up. But in the process, that can feel kind of freaky, like, oh my gosh, something's gonna happen, or something's unstable, or the rug's gonna get pulled out from underneath you. But it's positive because it lets you see from a different view. So if I've been always sitting in my office here, which is where I am right now, right? I'm in my office. And by the way, Dave, my boss and the owner, mentioned that I really should get some art on the wall behind me. And I said that I would let you guys all know that I would take that to my boss. So we'll see what happens, so you don't just have to see a blue wall. But if I'm always sitting in my office looking from this view, it's going to be limited. If Uranus energy comes and dumps me upside down and I'm lying on the floor of my office, I'm going to see different things. I'm going to see from a different perspective, and all of a sudden there may be a spot over here or something in the corner of my office that I'm not seeing. Yeah, you guys, quincunx, we work with them a lot in astrology, but if you're not familiar with it, check it out, because with quincunx in your own birth chart, or for example, if you have, let me give you an example. My Mercury is in the sign Cancer, and my partner, his Mercury is in the sign Sagittarius. Those signs are 5 signs apart from each other. That's a quincunx energy. He and I do a lot of things really well, but when it comes to communication, sometimes it's like we're not even speaking the same language. So when you understand and you can see the quincunx, you can know that an adjustment needs to happen, and then lots of creative things can come from that. But first recognizing that it's very hard to see each other from those points of view. So that just helps you, recognize what's going on so you can work with it differently. Yeah. Thank you. It's a pretty blue wall. Good. I'll let Dave know that the blue wall is just fine. Yeah. Thanks, you guys. Okay, so a little bit more here. I've been running on a long time. Okay, well, I'll try to curb myself soon. Now, think about these things about Libra, right? Libra, style, art, charm, beauty, harmony, wanting to find equilibrium, right? Wanting cooperation, wanting everyone to have an equal say. But on the flip side, be careful. Be careful, because Libra at its shadow side can be over-compromising. It can keep a false sense of peace, and it can try to avoid conflict to the point that it loses itself. Okay, so one ways you can think about this is that compromise, which is a Libra word, requires 2 people. If 2 people are not compromising together and one person is completely trying to handle the situation by turning into a chameleon or adapting or whatever, over-compromising, like I said, that's actually sacrifice. That's not compromise. And sacrifice is a Pisces word. So that's a different space. So it's good to remember this sometimes. Is it really compromise? And are you really compromising? So keep in mind too, I mentioned some of these words before, but with this Libra, right? This comparing, contrasting, this interconnection. It's a really good time to pay attention to what's coming up for you in the mirror. What people are saying to you, the feedback you get, what people look like to you, the story you tell yourself about what people are doing, that mirrors back things in yourself that you're ready to see. And especially, with the full moon, you can think about this even in greater effect, right? The ability to become aware of what I need from the world, what I need from the self, from myself, what I want to bring out more in myself and in my life, right? So it's a powerful time for that. Just be careful, because it's funny. We sometimes talk about, Libra rides the fence. It can't make a decision. It's not that it doesn't know what it likes. Come on, Libra in the tarot is the Justice card, right? It does judge what it likes and what it wants. It's just that sometimes it doesn't want to move forward on that because it doesn't want to disturb the peace, right? It doesn't want to lose connections. It doesn't want to look bad. It doesn't want to ruffle feathers, however you want to put it, yeah? So keep in mind that making good decisions is a Libra thing. Setting healthy boundaries is also a Libra thing. It's just easy not to do that sometimes when we're worried about losing connection, and Libra really cares about connection, right? It doesn't want to lose the people. But here's the thing, if you're not being authentic in that relationship, how real is it, right? Is that person you're in relationship with, do they really even know you? If you want to be known and you really want a relationship that can grow, then you need to let yourself be seen. And so one of the last things I'm going to mention here is that Libra in its highest expression is like two Aries dancing, right? Libra energy, and it's not you complete me, right? We can all like gag over that. It's not you complete me. It's two complete individuals, whole selves, right? And for lots of us, it takes a long time. Man, I was in my 40s before I was ready for what I would call a real relationship. And that was after 3 marriages. So we get there when we get there. But two Aries dancing, and then they choose to come together. That's really a big part of this energy that we're looking at. Now, Libra's also learning to love. So again, you got to give yourself a little bit of space, right? Learning to love means we don't know how to do it. Part of it is figuring out what we want, what we need, and what our own art of love looks like. And that's very different for each of us. Let me leave you with this. 2 things. Full moons are emotional times always, right? It heightens emotional sensitivity. It heightens our triggers, heightens the sense for projection. So the more that you can, create a comfy, safe space for yourself to feel all the feels, then the better off you'll be, and the more awareness you'll be able to receive. So it's good to know that everybody's going to be on heightened emotional sensitivity. And there can be, with Libra and with full moon, this sense of tug of war, right? This needing to like pull back and forth between things, right? So sometimes we say things complement each other. Famous Libra would talk about how he would say, don't be worried about what you're against, right? Pay attention to what you're for and go for what you're for. And I love that medicine, right? Because sometimes we pay a lot of attention, put a lot of energy into fighting against, when the better bang for your buck, or the better acceleration and evolution, and honestly coming back in sort of a space of peace and equilibrium is, what am I for? Moving in that direction is a happier way to go, at least I find. So I want to share with you right before I pop off here is that the Sabian symbol for this full moon, I'm going to read it for you guys, and if you're not familiar with Sabian symbols, there you can Google it, and there's some good books on it. But there was a psychic who channeled a vision basically for each degree of the zodiac. And so I want to read for you what the particular channeled message or visual image is for this particular degree of, and this full moon is 16 degrees Libra, 7 minutes. And in Sabian symbols, we round up, which means I'm going to read you 17 degrees Libra. Here it is. A retired sea captain watches ships entering and leaving the harbor. Here's the keynote. The capacity to gain an objective and calm understanding of human experiences in which one was once deeply involved. So there's something about, right, stepping back. Maybe it is, there's been something you've been in kind of fighting at, or tumultuous or big challenges, and now you can sit back and you can almost watch like the next generation, other people, right? The ships are coming and going, the things are going, but you reach a place of calm, you reach a place of balance within yourself, which gives you new ability within you and what you bring out into the world, right? To be a place and a person that emanates and embodies balance and calm and wisdom and the ability to share that. So I thought that was a beautiful feel of still watching the ships doing what they do, but being in sort of this safe harbor and finding this little bit of respite, this place of ease, this place of where you don't have to push and work quite so hard. Yeah. So I hope all of you find a little bit of that space. It's been amazing connecting with you. I know Karen put some links in here. If you love astrology as much as I do, check out our Living Astrology class. Actually, I'm teaching tomorrow. April's class is tomorrow. Super excited about that. I really can just never get enough of astrology, so it's a pleasure hanging out with you guys. Okay, see you soon.